In the heart of the sunlit desert, where the Nile flows like a ribbon of life through the ancient sands, there lies a world of gods and legends that breathe life into the past. Egyptian mythology, a tapestry of divine tales and sacred rituals, holds a special place in the human imagination. It's a realm where gods walk among mortals, and the stories of their actions echo through time. Among the most chilling and profound of these stories is the myth of the destruction of mankind. This tale is not just a story of divine wrath, but a window into the very essence of ancient Egyptian beliefs and fears. It reveals the intricate relationship between humans and gods, a bond that was both revered and fraught with tension. The myth begins with Ra, the great sun god, whose light and warmth were seen as life-giving gifts. Ra, in his golden chariot, journeyed across the sky each day, ensuring that the world was bathed in his life-sustaining light. He was not just a god, but a father to all creation, watching over humanity with a mixture of benevolence and authority. The Egyptians believed that Ra's daily journey across the sky represented the cycle of life and death, a rhythm that was both sacred and unchangeable. Yet, beneath the surface of this divine order, a dark shadow began to stir. Humans, who were once seen as children of the gods, started to stray from the path of respect and reverence that was expected of them. They began to defy Ra's will, their hearts filled with hubris and their actions laced with disobedience. This was no small matter. In a world where every god had a role, and every action had a consequence, disrespect towards Ra was a grave offense. The myth of the destruction of mankind is a tale of divine disappointment and impending doom. It's a story of how the gods, feeling betrayed by their own creations, decided to take drastic measures to restore balance and order. The Egyptians believed that the gods were deeply intertwined with the world's fate, and when humanity faltered, it was the gods' duty to correct the course, even if it meant resorting to extreme measures. In ancient Egypt, religion was not a mere practice but a way of life. The gods were believed to be present in every aspect of daily existence, guiding and influencing everything from the rising of the sun to the flow of the Nile. The destruction of mankind was not just a myth, it was a reflection of the deep-seated belief that divine intervention was necessary to maintain harmony in the world. The story reveals how the gods' actions were a response to the moral and spiritual failings of humanity. As the myth unfolds, the sense of fear and urgency becomes palpable. It's a story filled with vivid imagery and intense emotions. Imagine the horror of a world where the gods, in their fury, decide to eradicate humanity as a punishment. The thought alone is enough to send shivers down the spine. The Egyptians viewed their gods with a mixture of awe and dread, knowing that the balance of the universe hung delicately in their hands. The cultural and religious context of ancient Egypt adds layers of depth to this myth. The Egyptians believed in Ma'at, the concept of cosmic order and balance. To disrupt this order was to invite chaos and destruction. The gods were seen as the enforcers of Ma'at, and any deviation from this sacred order was met with severe consequences. The myth of the destruction of mankind is a stark reminder of how crucial it was for humans to live in harmony with the divine laws. The story of Ra's decision to punish humanity reveals the intense emotions felt by both the gods and the people. Ra's disappointment is not just a reaction to disobedience, but a profound sense of betrayal. It's a reminder that even gods, with all their power and majesty, can experience deep sorrow and anger. For the Egyptians, this myth was a way to understand the delicate balance between divine will and human behavior. It was a way to make sense of the world's trials and tribulations, a reminder of the consequences of straying from the path of righteousness. In the shadow of Ra's anger, the myth of the destruction of mankind stands as a testament to the profound and often fearsome relationship between gods and humans. It's a story that grips the heart and stirs the soul, a reminder of the ancient Egyptians' deep reverence for their gods and their understanding of the delicate balance that governed their world. The emotions of fear, awe, and respect that this myth evokes are as relevant today as they were in the ancient sands of Egypt. In the golden dawn of creation, the world was bathed in the radiant light of Ra, the mighty sun god. His chariot, drawn by a team of celestial horses, raced across the sky, casting warmth and life across the land. Ra was not just a deity, he was the heartbeat of existence, the creator who fashioned the heavens, the earth, and everything that crawled, walked, or soared. Under his watchful gaze, the world flourished, each sunrise a testament to his power and care. Ra's reign was a golden era, where order and harmony ruled supreme. The gods revered him, and his divine council was a pantheon of powerful beings, each playing a crucial role in the cosmic symphony. They gathered in celestial assemblies, where Ra's voice was the guiding force. This council included gods like Osiris, the ruler of the afterlife, Isis, the goddess of magic and motherhood, and Set, the god of chaos and storms. Together, they maintained the balance of the universe, each fulfilling their duties under Ra's supreme leadership. Yet, as time went on, a shadow began to creep over this divine harmony. Humanity, who had once been created in Ra's image, started to stray from the path of respect and reverence. They built their homes and cities, cultivated the land, and sought to carve out their own destinies. In their quest for independence, they began to challenge the very authority that had given them life. It began with small acts of defiance, a refusal to honor Ra with the rituals he was accustomed to, a neglect of the sacred temples where he was worshipped. These were not mere lapses, they were signs of a deeper rebellion, a growing disregard for the divine order. The people, once humble and devoted, started to see themselves as masters of their fate, forgetting the gods who had shaped their world. Ra, whose light had always been a beacon of guidance, now felt the sting of betrayal. The people who had once revered him were now questioning his authority, their hearts hardened by pride and self-sufficiency. The divine council watched with growing concern as the fabric of their carefully woven cosmos began to fray. Ra's anger was not just a response to the loss of worship, but a profound hurt, a sense of betrayal from those he had cherished and nurtured. In the celestial court, discussions grew tense. The gods, who had once worked in harmony, now found themselves divided. Some, like Isis, pleaded for mercy, advocating for patience and understanding. Others, like Set, saw this as an opportunity to assert their own power, fueling the growing discord among the deities. The once united council now faced a critical decision: how to respond to the rebellion that threatened to unravel the world they had worked so hard to create. Ra's struggle was not just against disobedient humans, but against the shifting dynamics of his own divine court. His heart, once full of love and compassion, now battled with the pangs of anger and disappointment. It was a battle that resonated in the heavens and echoed through the corridors of power, a poignant reminder of the fragility of divine rule and the consequences of human defiance. As the seeds of rebellion took root, the world below felt the tremors of impending change. The once golden era of Ra's reign now seemed to teeter on the brink of collapse. The people, caught in their arrogance and forgetfulness, were on a collision course with divine retribution. The emotional weight of this transformation was immense, a cosmic shift that would alter the course of both gods and humans. In this turbulent period, the myth of Ra's struggle is not just a story of divine authority, but a heart-wrenching tale of love, betrayal, and the desperate measures taken to restore order. It is a vivid reminder of the delicate balance between the creator and creation, a balance that, when disrupted, can lead to profound consequences for all involved. The emotional intensity of this myth captures the essence of the divine-human relationship, where the stakes are nothing less than the fate of the world itself. The sun blazed fiercely in the sky, casting its golden light over the sprawling lands of Egypt. It was a light that had once been a symbol of divine care and nurturing, but now it began to dim under a shadow of betrayal. The people, who had once sung praises to Ra and honored him with heartfelt devotion, were now turning away from him. Their hearts, once full of reverence, were filled with arrogance and disrespect. The sacred rituals and daily prayers that had once bound them to the divine were becoming mere afterthoughts. Ra, the great sun god, watched with growing despair as his children, the very ones he had given life, began to question his authority and neglect his sacred rites. His heart, which had once beat with pride for his creation, now throbbed with a profound sense of betrayal. He had given them everything: the warmth of the sun, the nourishment of the land, and the guidance of his light. And in return, they had turned their backs on him. This betrayal was not just a slight to Ra's divine authority, it was a profound wound to his spirit. He had always seen himself as a protector, a father figure to humanity. The disobedience and disregard were like daggers to his heart. Ra, whose very presence was a source of life and order, now faced a bitter reality. His beloved creations were drifting away from the path he had set for them. The decision to punish mankind was not made lightly. It was a choice born out of deep sorrow and righteous anger. Ra knew that he could not allow this defiance to go unpunished, for it would unravel the very fabric of order he had worked so hard to establish. The cosmic balance depended on respect for the divine order, and without it, chaos threatened to consume the world. In the celestial court, the gods gathered to discuss the unfolding crisis. The council was a place where every deity's voice held weight, and the fate of humanity was now a topic of intense debate. Some gods stood firmly by Ra's side, understanding the gravity of the situation and supporting his decision. They saw the betrayal as a severe threat to the cosmic balance and believed that a punishment was necessary to restore order. Yet, not all gods shared this view. Isis, the goddess of magic and motherhood, felt a deep compassion for the people. She saw them not as mere subjects, but as beings capable of change and redemption. Her heart ached at the thought of their suffering. She argued for mercy, pleading with Ra to find another way to address the rebellion without resorting to extreme measures. Her voice, filled with emotional anguish, echoed through the divine assembly, reflecting the heartache of seeing her beloved creations in distress. The god Set, on the other hand, viewed the situation with a different perspective. Known for his role as the god of chaos and storms, Set was less inclined toward compassion. To him, the rebellion was an opportunity to assert his own power and influence. His arguments were laced with a certain cold satisfaction, as he saw the unfolding chaos as a chance to elevate his own status among the gods. Set's presence added a layer of tension to the already fraught council, pushing Ra toward a decision that would have far-reaching consequences. As the debate reached its peak, Ra's heart was torn between the conflicting voices of his divine council. The pressure was immense, and the weight of his decision was almost unbearable. On one side, the call for punishment and restoration of order echoed with a sense of justice. On the other, the plea for mercy resonated with the hope of redemption and the deep love for humanity. In the end, the decision to punish mankind was made not out of a desire for revenge, but as a necessity to restore the divine balance. Ra's heart was heavy with the realization that the only way to address the rebellion and preserve the cosmic order was to impose a severe punishment. This was not an act of malice, but a desperate measure to remind humanity of the divine laws and their importance in maintaining the harmony of the universe. The news of the punishment spread quickly through the divine realms and down to the mortal world. The people, who had once been the children of the sun god, now faced the consequences of their actions. The divine wrath that followed was a powerful reminder of the fragile balance between respect and rebellion, between creation and chaos. As Ra looked upon the world, his heart was filled with a mix of sorrow and resolve. The punishment was a harsh but necessary step to restore the order he had strived to create. The divine council, with its varied voices and emotions, had played a crucial role in shaping the outcome. The story of Ra's decision and the gods' influence is a poignant reminder of the complex interplay between divine authority and human actions, a tale of heartbreak and hope that reverberates through the ages. In the heart of a world trembling under the weight of its own rebellion, Ra's anger turned to a fierce and formidable force. The divine council had spoken, and the decision had been made. Humanity would face the consequences of its defiance. But Ra's wrath was not to be wielded lightly. It required a power as raw and uncontrollable as the storm itself, a power that would strike fear into the hearts of all who dared to defy the gods. Thus, Ra called upon one of the most powerful deities in the pantheon, Hathor, the gentle goddess of love and motherhood. Her demeanor was serene, her presence a beacon of warmth and kindness. But in this moment of divine retribution, Ra transformed her into Sekhmet, the lioness goddess of war and destruction. This transformation was not just a change of form, but a shift into a being of sheer, unbridled ferocity. Sekhmet emerged with eyes blazing like molten gold, her roar echoing across the heavens. Her lioness head, a symbol of primal power, was now crowned with the fierce majesty of a goddess bent on vengeance. Her body was clad in flames, and her very breath was a fiery tempest that promised devastation. She was the embodiment of Ra's wrath, a force of nature unleashed upon the world. As Sekhmet descended upon the earth, the sky darkened, and the air grew thick with the scent of smoke and blood. Her rampage was swift and merciless. Villages burned, and the once thriving fields were reduced to ash under her relentless assault. The people, who had once flourished under Ra's light, now faced a terror beyond imagination. Sekhmet moved with a predatory grace, her eyes searching for those who had dared to defy the divine order. Her presence was a harbinger of doom, and her roar struck fear into the hearts of even the bravest souls. The destruction she wrought was not random, but a deliberate act of divine retribution. Each house that burned, each life that was lost, was a testament to the severity of Ra's judgment. Sekhmet's rage was not just an expression of anger, but a powerful symbol of the consequences of rebellion. Her rampage was a vivid reminder of the divine order that had been so flagrantly disregarded by humanity. The ferocity of Sekhmet was matched only by the depth of her symbolism. She was not merely a force of destruction, but an instrument of divine justice. In ancient Egypt, lions were seen as fierce and untamed creatures, embodying both the power of nature and the fear of its wrath. Sekhmet's transformation from the gentle Hathor into this fearsome lioness was a dramatic demonstration of how far the gods were willing to go to restore balance and order. Her actions were a reflection of the cosmic principle that the gods' favor was not to be taken for granted and that their displeasure could lead to catastrophic consequences. Sekhmet's rampage was a sight both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Her roar was said to shake the very foundations of the earth, her presence a relentless storm of destruction. The heavens wept as the goddess of vengeance swept across the land, her rage consuming everything in its path. The people, who had once basked in the light of Ra, now faced the unrelenting fury of his divine wrath. It was a time of great suffering, a period marked by the palpable fear that the gods' anger could bring about the end of all things. In the midst of the chaos, the very earth seemed to mourn. The once vibrant landscape was now a desolate wasteland, scarred by the fires of Sekhmet's fury. Rivers ran red, and the skies were darkened with smoke. The air was heavy with the cries of those who had been caught in the maelstrom of divine vengeance. Sekhmet's rampage was a vivid and terrifying illustration of the power of the gods and the consequences of straying from their will. As Sekhmet's fury raged on, the world below was left in ruins. The goddess of destruction had fulfilled her role as an instrument of Ra's vengeance, her rampage a powerful testament to the gods' capacity for both creation and destruction. Her actions were a stark reminder of the delicate balance between divine favor and divine wrath, a balance that humanity had disrupted and was now paying the price for. In this moment of divine rage, the myth of Sekhmet's rampage serves as a poignant reminder of the raw power of the gods and the deep connection between humanity and the divine. Sekhmet's wrath was not just an act of retribution, but a powerful symbol of the consequences of defiance and the lengths to which the gods would go to restore the sacred order. The ferocity of her rampage and the symbolism of her role as a goddess of vengeance leave a lasting impression, a chilling reminder of the power that lies beyond the mortal realm. The land of Egypt lay in shambles, scarred and smoldering under the relentless fury of Sekhmet. The goddess of war and destruction had swept through the world like a force of nature, her rage consuming everything in its path. Villages that once thrived with life and laughter were now reduced to ashes, and the fields, once lush and green, were nothing but burnt remnants. Sekhmet's wrath had pushed humanity to the brink of annihilation, leaving behind a trail of devastation that seemed almost apocalyptic. In the aftermath of Sekhmet's rampage, the few survivors wandered through a desolate landscape, their faces etched with terror and disbelief. The world they had known was gone, replaced by a nightmarish landscape of ruins and despair. Fear gripped the hearts of those who had escaped the goddess's fury. They huddled together in the ruins of their once great cities, their eyes constantly scanning the horizon for any sign of the lioness goddess's return. Every whisper of wind and every shadow felt like a threat, a reminder that the wrath of the gods was far from over. The natural world, too, had felt the brunt of Sekhmet's destruction. Rivers that had once flowed with life-giving water were now tainted with the red hue of blood. Trees that had stood for centuries were reduced to charred skeletons. The skies, once bright and clear, were darkened by thick clouds of smoke and ash. The land itself seemed to mourn, its vibrant beauty replaced by a grim wasteland. The delicate balance of Ma'at, the ancient concept of order and harmony, had been shattered. Where once there was balance between creation and destruction, there was now only chaos and ruin. The impact on the natural world was profound. The disruption of the balance meant that the cycles of life were thrown into disarray. The sun's warmth, which had once nurtured the land, now seemed distant and indifferent. The once bountiful harvests were a distant memory, replaced by famine and starvation. The once thriving ecosystems were now empty, their creatures either fled or perished in the wake of divine wrath. The very essence of Ma'at, the principle that governed the order of the universe, seemed to be teetering on the edge of collapse. Among the survivors, the fear was palpable. The destruction had not only taken away their homes and livelihoods, but had also instilled a deep-seated terror of the divine. The gods, who had once been seen as benevolent protectors, were now perceived as unpredictable and vengeful forces. The people questioned how such a tragedy could befall them and wondered if the gods could ever be appeased. The fear of further retribution hung over them like a dark cloud, casting a long shadow over their hopes for recovery. The near extinction of mankind was not just a physical devastation, but an emotional and spiritual one as well. The survivors grappled with a profound sense of loss, not just of their homes and families, but of their faith in the divine order. They felt abandoned by the very gods they had once worshipped, their pleas for mercy unanswered. The fear of Sekhmet's return was a constant presence, a reminder of the thin line between divine favor and divine wrath. In this shattered world, the remnants of humanity clung to the hope that there might still be a way to restore the balance that had been so brutally disrupted. They sought refuge in what was left of their temples, their prayers now tinged with desperation. They offered what little they had left, hoping that their sacrifices might appease the gods and bring back a semblance of order to their broken world. Sekhmet's rampage had left a scar on both the land and the people, a mark of divine vengeance that would not soon be forgotten. The destruction was a stark reminder of the power of the gods and the fragility of human existence. It was a time of great suffering, a period where the balance of Ma'at seemed a distant dream, and the future was shrouded in uncertainty. The near extinction of mankind was a heart-wrenching chapter in the myth of Sekhmet, a story of destruction and despair that left an indelible mark on the world. The fear and terror among the survivors, the impact on the natural world, and the collapse of divine order all painted a vivid picture of the consequences of defying the gods. It was a time of profound loss and a poignant reminder of the delicate balance between the divine and the mortal, a balance that, once disrupted, could lead to unimaginable devastation. As Sekhmet's roar continued to echo across the scorched land, Ra watched from the heavens with a heavy heart. The devastation below, the silent cries of those who had lost everything, and the emptiness that now marked the earth weighed heavily on him. The sun god, who had once radiated power and authority, now found himself wrestling with a deep, unsettling grief. The scales of justice, which he had once held firmly, seemed to have tipped into a chasm of sorrow. Ra gazed down at the ravaged world, his once fiery eyes now clouded with regret. The destruction wrought by Sekhmet had been immense, a force of nature that left nothing but despair in its wake. The land, which had once flourished under his light, was now a barren wasteland. The people, who had once thrived, were now reduced to mere shadows of their former selves, their lives shattered by the very force of divine wrath that Ra had unleashed. The cries of the people reached the heavens, a mournful chorus that tugged at Ra's divine heart. The god of the sun could hear their pleas, their desperate cries for mercy amidst the ruin. He could see the fear in their eyes and the hopelessness that had settled over their once vibrant communities. The weight of their suffering bore down on him, and the proud, powerful god found himself questioning the justice of his actions. In this time of turmoil, the other gods, too, felt the sting of the devastation. They witnessed the suffering of humanity and the impact on the natural world, and their hearts were moved. These divine beings, who had stood by Ra's side in judgment, now pleaded for a change of course. They approached Ra with voices full of compassion, their pleas for mercy ringing out through the heavens. The goddess Isis, with her nurturing spirit, spoke with a voice that was gentle yet firm. She reminded Ra of the delicate balance of creation and destruction, urging him to see beyond the immediate retribution and consider the long-term consequences. The goddess Hathor, whose gentle nature had been overshadowed by Sekhmet's rage, spoke of the suffering of those who had been caught in the crossfire. Her voice was filled with sorrow for the people who had once worshipped her and now lay devastated beneath the goddess's wrath. The gods' pleas were not merely words, but a heartfelt call to restore balance and mercy. They reminded Ra of the purpose behind creation and the role of the gods as nurturers as well as enforcers of justice. The divine council's intervention was a powerful plea for Ra to reflect on the greater good and the long-term impact of his actions. Moved by the compassion and wisdom of his fellow gods, Ra took a moment to reflect deeply on the path he had set in motion. His heart, once hardened by the need for retribution, began to soften. He saw the suffering of his creations and understood the depth of their pain. The weight of their despair and the empty desolation that now marked the earth struck a chord within him. Ra realized that in his quest for justice, he had nearly extinguished the very essence of life that he had once cherished and protected. With a heavy heart and a soul weighed down by regret, Ra made a decision that would alter the course of history. He called upon Sekhmet, who had been wreaking havoc with unrelenting fury, and ordered her to cease her destruction. Her rampage, which had once seemed unstoppable, was now to be brought to an end. The goddess, her eyes still burning with the fire of wrath, paused as Ra's command reached her. There was a moment of tense silence, a pause in the storm that had raged so fiercely. Sekhmet, though still fierce, understood the gravity of Ra's decision. She withdrew from her path of destruction, the flames that had once blazed now dimming to a mere ember. The goddess's anger was tempered by Ra's plea, and the world, which had been on the brink of total annihilation, began to breathe again. The fires of destruction were replaced by the slow but steady return of hope. Ra's decision to halt the destruction was not just an act of mercy but a profound act of redemption. The sun god, who had once stood as a symbol of divine power, now stood as a beacon of hope and restoration. His choice to save humanity was a testament to the enduring capacity for forgiveness and the understanding that even the greatest of gods could learn from their actions. As the smoke cleared and the first signs of healing began to emerge, Ra looked upon the world with a renewed sense of purpose. The devastation had been immense, but the decision to restore balance was a step toward rebuilding and renewal. The survivors, though still grieving, could now begin to mend their broken lives, with the hope that the gods' favor might once again shine upon them. Ra's change of heart had not erased the pain but had opened the door to a new beginning, a chance for the world to heal and for humanity to rise once more from the ashes of despair. The earth still smoldered from the wrath of Sekhmet, the goddess of destruction, as the survivors clung to the last vestiges of hope. The Divine Council knew that to save humanity from complete annihilation, they had to find a way to stop Sekhmet's unrelenting fury. The solution they devised was both audacious and ingenious, a clever trick to pacify the goddess's raging spirit. In the heart of this desperate plan was a potion unlike any other, a mixture of beer and red ochre. The concoction was not just a random choice, but a carefully thought-out remedy designed to play on Sekhmet's nature. The beer, a common and comforting drink among the Egyptians, was mixed with red ochre, a pigment that carried the color of blood. This mixture was meant to mimic a vast expanse of blood, tricking Sekhmet into thinking she was still amidst the carnage she craved. The plan unfolded with a blend of anticipation and trepidation. The streets, still echoing with the remnants of her rage, were now lined with the strange brew. The mixture was spread out over the fields and throughout the land, its vibrant red hue stark against the ashen landscape. It was a surreal scene, an artificial sea of red that seemed almost too bright and too vivid to be real. As Sekhmet roamed the land, her eyes scanned for any sign of continued defiance or rebellion. Her senses, honed for detecting the scent of blood and battle, were drawn to the bright red pools spread across the earth. Driven by her relentless thirst for destruction, she moved toward them with a ferocity that shook the very ground. But as she approached, the tantalizing scent of the beer mixed with red ochre reached her nostrils. The powerful goddess, so focused on her mission of annihilation, could not resist the allure of this unexpected offering. The moment Sekhmet began to drink, her rage was met with an unexpected response. The beer, with its intoxicating properties, began to take effect. The goddess, who had once been a force of fiery wrath, started to slow her movements. Her once fiery eyes began to soften, and her fierce demeanor turned sluggish. The red ochre, combined with the beer, created an illusion of a vast, intoxicating sea of blood. To Sekhmet, it seemed as though her thirst for blood had been sated, and her anger was slowly being drowned in this concoction. As the effects of the beer took hold, Sekhmet's transformation began. The goddess's anger, which had been like a raging storm, now ebbed away, replaced by a peaceful calm. Her fearsome lioness form began to soften, and her appearance gradually shifted back to the gentle, nurturing goddess Hathor. The once terrifying goddess of destruction was now the beloved deity of love, joy, and motherhood. The transformation was as profound as it was miraculous. The fierce, destructive force that had nearly wiped out humanity was now a symbol of compassion and healing. The significance of this event in Egyptian rituals was profound. The clever trick to pacify Sekhmet not only saved humanity but also symbolized a deeper understanding of the god's nature. The mixture of beer and red ochre was more than just a practical solution, it represented the duality of the divine. It showed that even the most fearsome deities could be soothed and transformed through understanding and compassion. In Egyptian rituals, the act of offering was not merely about appeasement but about recognizing the god's power and their ability to be swayed by human efforts. The use of beer and red ochre was a symbolic act that acknowledged the god's temperaments and the balance that needed to be maintained. It was a demonstration of how the divine could be both wrathful and benevolent, and how, through cleverness and respect, even the most formidable forces could be guided toward a path of harmony. As the people watched the transformation of Sekhmet into Hathor, a profound sense of relief washed over them. The fear that had gripped their hearts was replaced by hope and gratitude. The goddess's return to her nurturing form signified not just the end of destruction but the beginning of renewal. The land, which had been so deeply scarred, now had a chance to heal and flourish once more. This miraculous event, driven by ingenuity and a deep understanding of the gods, became a pivotal moment in Egyptian mythology. It highlighted the interplay between destruction and creation, wrath and mercy, and the power of cleverness to mend what had been broken. The trick to pacify Sekhmet, with its dramatic and heartfelt resolution, was a testament to the enduring strength of hope and the divine capacity for change. In the wake of Sekhmet's transformation, the world began to heal from the scars left by her wrath. The once barren lands, blackened by destruction, were now slowly giving way to new life. Green shoots pushed through the ashes, and the air, once choked with smoke, was beginning to clear. The people, their hearts heavy with the memory of the devastation, looked toward the future with a fragile hope. The aftermath of the destruction was a time of profound reflection and rebuilding. The gods, too, were deeply affected by what had transpired. They understood that their actions, driven by justice and wrath, had far-reaching consequences that could not be ignored. The lessons learned were etched into the fabric of their divine existence, altering their approach to humanity and their roles within the cosmos. Ra, having witnessed the near destruction of mankind, was deeply moved by the suffering and the eventual restoration. The sun god saw the resilience of humanity and the importance of balance in the divine realm. His heart, once set on retribution, was now guided by a renewed sense of purpose, to protect and nurture, rather than merely enforce. The restoration of order was not just a physical rebuilding but a renewal of spirit and faith. The land, though scarred, began to show signs of recovery. Farmers tilled the soil once more, and families began to rebuild their homes. The sense of community, which had been fractured by fear and loss, slowly began to mend. In this process of restoration, the gods played a crucial role, guiding and supporting humanity in their efforts to heal. Ra, with his radiant light now symbolizing hope and renewal, became a central figure in the people's lives. His presence, once associated with the harshness of judgment, was now celebrated for the warmth and protection it offered. Festivals were established in his honor, celebrating the sun's life-giving power and the new era of peace that followed the turmoil. These festivals were vibrant with offerings of gratitude and prayers, a testament to the gods' enduring role in human lives. Sekhmet, too, was honored in a new light. Though her wrath had brought destruction, her return to Hathor was seen as a symbol of redemption and the duality of divine nature. Rituals were established to honor her as both a protector and a fierce force. These rituals involved offerings and celebrations that reflected both her nurturing side and her role as a goddess of justice. The people recognized the importance of appeasing Sekhmet, understanding that her nature was a balance between mercy and fury. The new rituals and festivals were not just acts of worship, but profound acknowledgments of the lessons learned from the near devastation. The people celebrated not only the gods' mercy but also their own resilience and capacity for renewal. These celebrations were imbued with a sense of reverence for the gods and a recognition of the delicate balance required to maintain harmony between the divine and the mortal. In the heart of these celebrations was a poignant reminder of the destruction that had nearly consumed their world. The festivals included moments of reflection on the past, honoring the memory of those lost and the suffering endured. It was a way to ensure that the lessons learned from the destruction were never forgotten, that the memory of what had happened would serve as a guide for future actions. As the gods and humans worked together to restore order, a new sense of unity emerged. The shared experience of survival and recovery forged stronger bonds between the divine and the mortal. The gods, having seen the impact of their actions, were more compassionate and attuned to the needs of humanity. In turn, humans approached their worship and rituals with a deeper understanding of the divine will and the importance of maintaining balance. The aftermath of Sekhmet's destruction and the subsequent restoration of order were not merely a return to normalcy but a transformation of how gods and humans interacted. It was a time of profound change, where the scars of the past became the foundation for a new era of harmony and respect. The lessons learned were etched into the rituals and festivals that followed, serving as a reminder of the delicate balance required to maintain both divine and earthly harmony. The myth of Sekhmet's destruction left an indelible mark on ancient Egyptian culture, its echoes resonating through the ages. It wasn't just a story of divine wrath and redemption, it became a cornerstone of Egyptian religion and society, shaping how the people understood their world and their gods. In the heart of Egypt's temples and homes, the myth of Sekhmet lived on, profoundly influencing religious practices and societal norms. The tale was more than a dramatic legend, it embodied a deep-seated understanding of divine justice and mercy. The myth served as a reminder that even the most powerful gods could be swayed by compassion and that balance was essential to the world's harmony. Ra's transformation from a stern judge to a protector, and Sekhmet's return to her nurturing form, became powerful symbols of how justice and mercy must coexist. The myth's impact was especially evident in the rituals and festivals that punctuated the Egyptian calendar. The festivals honoring Ra and Sekhmet were not mere celebrations but vital expressions of gratitude and reverence. Each festival was a reflection of the profound lessons learned from the myth. The rituals performed during these times were imbued with an understanding of the balance between divine anger and benevolence. They reminded the people that their gods were not only sources of fear and awe but also guardians of balance and harmony. Egyptian art and literature, too, were deeply influenced by the myth. Artists captured the dramatic scenes of Sekhmet's rage and Ra's intervention in vivid murals and statues. Temples were adorned with images of Sekhmet in both her fearsome lioness form and her gentle Hathor guise. These artworks were not just decorative but served as powerful symbols of divine power and the consequences of its misuse. They told the story of the gods' capacity for both destruction and healing, serving as visual reminders of the delicate balance that must be maintained. In literature, the myth inspired countless stories and hymns. Poets and scribes wove the tale into their works, exploring themes of divine justice and mercy with emotional depth. The myth's themes provided a rich tapestry for exploring human experience and the gods' role in it. These stories conveyed the understanding that the divine, while capable of great wrath, could also offer redemption and renewal. The writings captured the essence of the myth, embedding its lessons into the cultural fabric of Egypt. The myth also played a role in shaping the broader concept of divine justice in Egyptian society. It underscored that justice was not simply about punishment, but also about the possibility of mercy and restoration. This understanding was crucial in a society that valued both order and compassion. The gods' actions in the myth served as a model for how justice could be administered with an awareness of its impact on both the innocent and the guilty. As the myth was passed down through generations, it continued to influence how the Egyptians viewed their relationship with the divine. It became a touchstone for understanding the gods' temperaments and the importance of maintaining balance in their worship. The story of Sekhmet and Ra was not just a historical account, but a living lesson in how to navigate the complexities of divine interaction. It reminded the people that their gods were not distant beings, but active participants in the ongoing drama of life. The story's influence extended beyond religious and artistic realms. It shaped societal values and behaviors, guiding how individuals and communities approached their daily lives. The myth encouraged a balance between reverence and practicality, emphasizing that while the divine had immense power, it was also bound by the principles of balance and justice. This perspective fostered a culture that sought to harmonize the spiritual and the earthly, recognizing that both were intertwined in the grand design of existence. In essence, the myth of Sekhmet's destruction was more than just a dramatic tale, it was a foundational element of Egyptian culture. It defined how the people understood their gods, their rituals, and their own place within the cosmic order. The lessons of the myth, woven into the fabric of Egyptian religion and society, continued to resonate through the ages, reflecting the timeless human quest for balance, justice, and redemption. The myth of Sekhmet's destruction and Ra's change of heart has found a new life in modern times, echoing through contemporary literature, art, and popular culture. What once was a sacred tale of divine fury and redemption has evolved into a story that speaks to the universal human experience of power, vengeance, and redemption. In modern literature, the tale has been reimagined in ways that resonate deeply with today's audiences. Authors have woven the myth into their narratives, using its themes to explore the complexities of human nature and the moral struggles that define our existence. Books and stories have adapted the myth's dramatic elements to address contemporary issues, reflecting on the consequences of unchecked power and the possibility of redemption. These retellings bring the ancient myth into the present, making its timeless themes accessible to a new generation. Art has also embraced the myth's powerful imagery and emotions. Contemporary artists draw on the dramatic contrasts of Sekhmet's wrath and Ra's mercy to create evocative pieces that capture the essence of the myth. Paintings and sculptures depict the fierce lioness goddess and the radiant sun god with a new intensity, reflecting both the terror and hope embedded in the ancient story. These artworks offer a fresh perspective on the myth, using modern techniques to convey its emotional depth and universal appeal. Popular culture has been equally influenced by the myth's enduring themes. Films, television shows, and video games have incorporated elements of the story, blending its dramatic arcs with modern storytelling techniques. Sekhmet's destructive power and Ra's eventual act of mercy find their way into narratives that deal with epic battles, personal struggles, and the quest for balance. The myth's impact is evident in how these stories capture the dramatic tension between vengeance and forgiveness, highlighting its relevance to our contemporary struggles. The legacy of the myth is a testament to its profound emotional resonance. Its themes of power and vengeance are timeless, reflecting the eternal human questions about justice and mercy. Sekhmet's rage and Ra's redemption offer a mirror to our own experiences with conflict and reconciliation. In modern interpretations, these themes are explored with a new urgency as societies continue to grapple with issues of authority, retribution, and the search for forgiveness. The myth's influence on contemporary culture underscores its enduring power to evoke strong emotions and provoke thought. It remains a powerful narrative that challenges us to consider the nature of divine justice and the capacity for change. As we encounter the story in its modern forms, it continues to touch our hearts and minds, reminding us of the timeless nature of its lessons and the shared human quest for balance and redemption.